Welcome to Elevate Global Masterclass Series, where I'm hosting masterclasses with world-renowned spiritual teachers, mindfulness experts, healers, business coaches, all to help you as a successful coach and leader step into your next level of purpose and make a difference on a global scale. My name is Julia Mick. I'm the founder and CEO of Alignment Institute. Now, I'm devoted. My purpose here is to help you step into your next level of greatness and create financial freedom by doing what you love. And today we're going to talk about this and so much more with an incredible healer whose name is Damien Wynne. Damien Wynne is a pioneer, international business consultant and coach, consciousness hacker, and awareness teacher who has been working with people for over 20 years. He has been traveling and teaching groups for over 17 years and supported thousands of people releasing what is in the way to following the truth and take a massive jump in their lives. When given permission, he has an ability to look into your system and pinpoint like a microscope what is behind the root of the blockages, bring them up and transform them in an extremely efficient way. But normally would take years to transform can be transformed in a moment. Often people say after the sessions, it feels like lifetimes of transformation has taken place in one session. And I could not agree more. I have experienced Damien's work. I think he's incredible. It's such an honor to have you here, Damien. Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you. So nice to connect with you again, Julie. And thank you for everyone here as well and holding the space. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
Thank
I wonder if there's anything you'd be open to sharing about your own journey as a healer, as a teacher, consultant. Was there a moment when you had a breakthrough into your next level of purpose, maybe an epiphany or realization, anything that could be useful for us to hear?
Well, originally I always had the gift inside and I was blocking it. And I kept blocking it through my childhood. Well, through my childhood, I was tapping into it. And then later on, I had this feeling that something at the age of 30 is going to dramatically change in my life. I didn't know what it was, but I just had this calling, something is going to happen at 30. And I went into the business world with my brother at that time. And I was working in the business world. And then I got this calling one day and saying, okay, there's somebody you have to meet. And it turned out that that person I met was a healer and he worked on me. And when he worked on me, it opened up my heart chakra and I had a huge download. And I was like, whoa, what happened there? And he had the same reaction because he only started doing the work as well. And the both was like, what was going on? And it opened up again when I went back into the office later on. A channel opened up and it started again. And from that point, I met him the next day. He says, oh, you can do this. And he asked me to work on him. And he was very pushy. And I just, okay, I'll do it. And immediately when I agreed to do it, he was lying down. I saw in the room a library of information, like of books open up, codes. And I was like, I know this stuff, but I need to practice. And I said, okay, I'm going to give it the business world. I'm going to give up everything. And I went to my accountant and I said, okay, I'm finishing all my businesses. I need to leave the country. And it didn't happen that fast. I made the decision to do it, but the way the entanglement of the business, it took time to close things, hand things over. And through that year, it went on. And then also I had a series of different accidents. I ended up in a wheelchair, my hips went, I had crushed spine. So all these things were I feel myself blocking myself from myself, sabotaging the system. And through those different accidents, I connected. I remember one really strong accident when I had the one where my hips went. I was in Asia at the time. And it was like I was calling home for help and they didn't believe me. And I said at that point, okay, I'm on my own. I do everything on my own. And suddenly there was a massive shift in my system because I realized I was being codependent with everybody. I was never doing anything for me. And from that moment, I surrendered and I said, no, I'm here for me. I'm going to work on myself. And that's where the journey of self-healing starts to really amplify. It's very, very strong in my life. And everything changed in my life at that time. And I knew I needed to clean my system up. I knew there was a lot of stuff in my system and I worked very, very deeply. And that was the information I kept getting was, Damien, you have to clean your cellular information. And that was the whole journey all along, was about getting back into the body. I was way out of my body. I had just a lot of abuse in my childhood, sexual abuse and this type of thing in the past. So because of that abuse, I was very fragmented. So I was doing the work more out of the body and getting a lot of connections, but I wasn't getting these grounded results. So I started to work with getting what's the information within the cells. I need to get into the cells. So what's in the cellular information? That's where the truth is. It's like a roadmap inside my body. So I start diving deep into the DNA, deep into the cells, deep into the organs and the subconsciousness and the brain. And from there, I started to develop different techniques start coming through. And then I start teaching these different techniques. And it was all like a puzzle. I felt like I was on this just, curious treasure hunt, that I'd find these different keys or different ways to change the DNA, how to work in the subconsciousness, how to change the blood, how to change the minerals within the body. So these were all coming in, and it was always, when I get there, I would let it go. I would teach it, let it go, and then something brand new would come in. So I'm always like an empty vessel in a way. The more I discover, the more I realize I don't know. Staying very humble through the whole experience, and knowing that it's all stepping stones. Everything's stepping stones. As soon as something opens up, I'm like a child in a way. I have this curiosity, because for me, creation is curiosity. When I'm in creation, it's curiosity, and it's the unknown. So I'm comfortable in that space, and I love that space. So that's how I start working really deep within the cellular information and working on how to change it. And then I was working with doctors as well. So we were testing how the body would change, how the blood would change, and how to get results. So I started to see how to get results within the cellular information and why it was so important to get into the body. Because if you want to, and that's where I start working really with.
Imagine when you get into the body and you start changing cellular information, I imagine one of the things that happens is physical healing.
Yes.
Right?
But not only physical healing, your whole life changes.
Yeah.
Because you are like, we're spirit coming into this vessel, but the vessel is full of different genetic information and belief systems. And I think it's mine, but it's actually not mine. A lot of it. So it's coming from the ancestral line, the genetics from mom, from dad. And this is affecting how I live my life and how I run my business, or my health is affected, my relationship is affected. And really, it's amazing. We think we're making our own decisions, but when you really go into it, it's not our own, it's not ourselves running the show. We're really living mom and dad or the ancestors' experiences very much within the DNA imprints. So that's why I was guided to work very much with the genetics, with the DNA, the ancestral information within ourselves, also past life, from the womb up, from birth up to now, and also a little bit into future lives as well, into the future. So it's really key. What helped me a lot is I've been living in Greece for the last 7 years. I was just sharing with you earlier on that I'm very curious, and I'm sent around the world to different key locations, because what helped me a lot in Greece that's what really dropped in for me, was that 2000 years ago, they were very conscious about old systems. For example, if you want to heal yourself, for example, if you've got medical conditions, there were specific systems for healing the body. There were specific systems for having a child. There were specific systems for running the business, for financial, for leadership qualities. So I started to go to these sites, and I realized that there's blueprints. And what I realized earlier on was that what I don't have in my own system, my parents couldn't give it to me. And if I can accept they couldn't give it to me, and I'm okay with that, really unconditionally okay with it, then I can accept to receive that from somewhere else that has it. And then spirit will find the systems that can help me evolve. So I was shown how to open up the DNA and how to reset the DNA. So for example, if I don't have a supporting father, there was ancient sites where I go, and, Alexander the Great, for example, or, I'd sit there, and it was interesting, that energy of him sitting in as my dad, for example, my spine expanded, and suddenly my spirit could get in. For example, Latina, the goddess Tatina, about leadership, and it's about leadership, quality, business, but also about no abuse allowed in the system. And these are only archetypal information that I'm tapping into. So this archetypal information, as soon as I have a strong mother in the system who's willing to even kill for me as a child if I'm being abused, suddenly my masculine could get in. So I started to work with the different archetypes that were in the field. And that's what I use in business, for example. Once I become it vibrationally, I can hold that space for others. And then suddenly they can clear what's in their system and their spirit can drop in, because we have different qualities and different aspects of ourselves. And maybe my inner child, maybe the part of me around, about finances or business or owning my power was hurt in my childhood, or my mom didn't have that power to really be herself, speak her truth. So if I bring in a very strong coding into the system, into the DNA, suddenly that person who felt unsafe feels very safe in the body.
I love that. I think it's so important. It sounds a little similar to how I work with my clients. It's very often, first of all, helping them accept that you did not have that kind of, whatever it is, abundance consciousness in your childhood, or healthy father or healthy mother, because so many people spend years trying to look for it from their family, and they can die still looking and never finding it, still suffering. But you accept that, okay, there was lack and it's okay, I forgive. And then where is available this blueprint? I call it blueprint for whatever it is, leadership, success, global impact. So I totally agree with what you're saying. I think it's so important.
And absolutely, that is the key. There's steps in it. It's not always the same because everyone's different. But this acceptance that they couldn't give it to you, it's like, even there's words that I work with for resetting mom and dad in the system, because we're constantly looking for that recognition from mom and dad. And as you say, like, I've worked with even incredibly powerful people, and then I look at their system and say, wow, you're only doing that for approval from your dad. You're still looking for approval. So that's why you're not feeling satisfied in your career. That's why your soul's not being nourished by this job. So as soon as they can accept that, reset the system, reset the subconsciousness, then there's a breakthrough in the system, because now they're doing it from their essence. And once you're doing it from the essence, there's satisfaction, there's abundance, there's, it's a soul abundance. It's very, very, it's very different when you accept that paradise, that heaven on earth is within you cellularly. You're on that vibrational field, and that's the vibration you give out, and that's the vibration you will attract to yourself. Because now you're on the vibrational frequency of abundance, of empowerment, of no limitations. Everything's possible. I can support myself. I can heal myself. Or there's no limits in this system. So usually when I bring those fields, when I connect with somebody, for example, in business, then they open up this ability within their own system, and they remember that they have the qualities, and they unite with their essence. So they're not making decisions from their programming, they're making decisions from their essence. So the work I do is really about supporting people to make those decisions from their essence. And once you're from your essence, you're in joy, you're in love, you love what you do, and there's no limits there, because that's what we're here to do. As a spirit, we only need to do what we're here to do, to have fun with it, and that's where it really gets exciting, because suddenly you start getting you're ignited with passion as well, and you're curious, and you're tapping into a life force that is pure freshness, abundance, vitality. It's like, and there's no limits. Also, what's very important is that completing cycles. If you got a complete cycle in your system, it means you can seed an idea that for me, it's about, I need to balance mom and dad, mom, mother earth, dad, creator. Okay. And if I have them balanced in the system, I can seed a vision. Okay. I can have that child within my womb, and then I can birth the child, and I can protect the child. I can nourish the child, love the child, help the child develop, and the child now develops as an adult once I've got the adult within me. So a lot of us gets around puberty, when we start developing, we don't have this ancient tradition for an activation that you're a boy and now you're a man. You're a girl and now you're a woman. And it was in ancient culture. I remember when I was in Japan, my ex-wife at the time, in Japan, they would celebrate when their daughter would become a woman. And this is really an activation on a soul level to activate the woman within her. It's an activation. And a lot of us in the Western world are missing that activation. I'm living in Kenya, I live in Africa. And in Africa, they have this initiation for the women and the men. So it's in the culture. So all these ancient cultures have this activation of boy to man, girl to woman. And then there's an incredible shift that now the inner child now is the man or the woman, the leader. You're not a victim anymore.
So how can someone in Western society do that? They're adult, they're listening to you now, they might be 30 years old or 7 years old. What now? What tools would you give them today so they could start activating the true leader?
So first of all, being conscious of it, okay? Because we all have frozen aspects of us, okay? So this could be an undeveloped part of me, okay? So if you find someone who's activated within them, that and sit with that person, that or that group, that will activate within you then. So for me, everything's about codes, frequencies, vibration, okay? So if you find, your system will find, if you put the intention, okay, I'm conscious that I haven't activated the man in me or the woman in me, okay? Then your system will find the key person who can support you to activate that part of you. It's a very, very important part of us to honor that part. And it's amazing when you activate it, you'll feel genetically you take a bigger step away from your mom and your dad. So you give them back. It's like, it's interesting. A friend of mine, and it really activated in me years ago when I was in the States, and my friend, it was his bar mitzvah, and they were celebrating, and the mom, and I just saw it in the video, but I saw what was happening. I was like, whoa, you just activated your son. And the mom was there. Yeah, I did. I've done the best I can as a mom, and the dad, I've done the best I can. Now he has the tools to do it himself. Okay. So the mom's saying, I accept I'm not perfect, but I've done my best. And I've given my son or daughter the tools for them to live their own life. And I'm here if they need me, so they can come back to me when I want, but I'm here and I believe in you. So when I felt this energy, I didn't have this from my parents, but when I felt that energy, it activated in me. Was that suddenly now I've got parents who believe in me, believe in themselves too. And that's an incredible way to be in the world, to have that support system behind you.
It makes so much sense. I have had some people come to me because I talk a lot about ease, and they're like, I would not believe in ease if it wasn't for you, Julia. Just knowing it in you, feeling it in you, seeing it in you. That's really the only reason why I can let myself start having more ease in my life too. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because you have that vibration code of ease, of joy, of no limitations in your system, and very strong leadership in your system. So if someone sits with you, you're allowing them to access the codes and the hard work you've done for years and lifetimes. So if someone's called for a session or go to your workshop, they're called because the soul knows that you have the keys for them. Okay, so you are full of a huge amount of information from all your lifetimes and between lifetimes. So when someone sits with you in your workshops, they have the honor to sit with all this treasure chest that you have, which is unique to you. Yes, that's unique consciousness, okay? But it's very important to honor that you, Julia, have unique codes in your library, okay, which are developed from you because you've earned it, you've worked it in your system, okay? Because you've worked it in your system, that means then you can share that with others. And that's the most beautiful gift, to pass it on and to activate others. So like anyone who's a leader out there, I always say to people, listen, if someone comes to you, they're coming because they know what's in your system information. And you need to acknowledge that they're tapping into a field of lifetimes of experiences, lifetimes. And that's what they're accessing when you hold a session for somebody. That's what you're holding space for. And it's very important to honor that within yourself, to say, okay, I remember at the beginning I wasn't grounding and saying, no, it's nothing to do with me, it's to do with God. It's, I'm holding space, that's it. No, you need to honor. For me, it was a very big thing. It took me 10 years to do this. I was like, no, it's ego. I need to honor that I am, I'm connected to source, creator. And at the same time, my essence has a unique coding in my system from lifetimes. And I know I've been here for thousands of lifetimes, not only on this planet. So that person who's coming to the workshop knows that and is tapping into that. They're not tapping into Damien's life here. No, they're tapping into a huge amount of information. And then, I am you, you are me. So we're also sharing, we're interacting with each other. So the interaction is like a flock of birds. It's not one leader. We're all leaders, but we're interconnected. So as you transform, I really need to honor the work you've been doing up to now, Julia, because that work has helped me be who I am, as each one of us are.
So beautiful. And that's how we help each other, like, go back home and keep expanding forevermore into who we are. Yeah.
And everyone has something to give. Everyone on this planet is giving something into this collective pool, consciousness, and every lifetime. So if you can, for me, I connect with the being of the person, and I'm aware of all the topics in the person without judgment. For me, it's very important to have no judgment, but not to be naive, to know what's in the system, not to have blinding trust, blinding faith. No, I'm aware what's in the system, and I'm aware they're an incredible being. So this way, it will always open up the space for the greatest to happen.
I love that you're saying all this, because I imagine everyone here, they're coaches, speakers, leaders, messengers of some kind. And I really want for everyone to hear that who you are already is a walking library that is a gift. Like, even if you don't say a word to teach something, even if you don't give another workshop, just you being you is the coding that so many people need to be activated by.
And recently I did a results webinar, it's called Results. And it was like, I opened up the system. I was like, do you realize how many results you have up to now in your system?
Yeah.
And then how many results you've given for others? And then how many results they've given to us?
Yeah.
And before we go to creating the next results.
I love it. Oh, it just speaks to my heart. I give these things called certification courses or leadership trainings, and I teach my facilitators about something I call practitioner skill number 1, because I want to keep pointing out it's number 1, practitioner skill number 1. And it's just be in the fullness of your presence and own the glory, the intelligence, the healing you already are. That's way before they say a word, way before they touch someone, way before they guide someone. Just their true, I don't even want to say the word presence, it's like overused word, but like the codes that they carry that are multidimensional and invaluable.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's like it really is codes, it's like a lock, and so you may say, okay, I only gave one code, okay, but that one code could be the key, the code that opens up the treasure chest for me. And that code is none of my business, but it's your code. Okay. And then we probably never see each other again. Okay. But that was crucial. So we're meeting people on our journey who have the codes for us. And if we stay open on this journey, we will meet the right people, as we're meeting now. You're giving me codes, and we're sharing codes. We're always sharing codes with each other, So we're helping each other to develop on this journey, to remember, to become more whole, and then also to bring up each other.
So here's a question. This sounds all great. And I imagine you have met some people who are really resistant to being activated. They might be in front of Dalai Lama, in front of you, and you're showering your codes on them, but they are just totally blocking them. Do you then just trust the timing and let them have their own journey?
Yeah, I've had people walk into workshops and ask for the money back after 20 minutes. And I'd say, okay, sure. Thank you. Thank you. You got what you needed. Thank you. And I'd let them go. Oh, and then they come back a year later and say, wow, thank you. That was amazing. So the system information, if someone's sitting in front of you, there's always something. There's always something going on. There's a greater intelligence. Like even in the sessions I do, I'm only getting probably 5% of what's really happening here because there's something greater happening here, and I'm aware of that. So I don't need to know. But someone who's really blocked, it's interesting. There's a lot of different ways I work to handle that situation, and at the same time, they will always get what they need. So I don't feel disappointed if they say, I'm blocking, I don't feel anything, I don't want anything. If you were here, I know you're here for a reason. There's something in the system. I don't need to know what it is even, but it usually comes up within the session or the group. And there's different ways to work with that and to support somebody to open up to the system. But the information will drop in over time as well. So it doesn't need to enter the system then. That's why I start recording the webinars. I got information years ago, record everything, because the person, you'll allow it in, you'll have resistance, then you allow it in, and then it will drop in maybe months later, or maybe you need to have a human experience to make a new decision. And when you make that decision, then it drops in. So it's really like codes dropping, downloads coming into your system. So we're in the human aspect. So I maybe need to say to my partner, that's enough, stop, I'm not okay with that, or my boss or something. And my system will not accept the codes in until I have the human experience of feeling rejected, feeling abandoned, and say, okay, stop, that's enough. And now I make a new choice, and now the codes drop into the system. So within the sessions, within the work we're all doing, it's very important to acknowledge that there's a lot of information which will drop in over even years later into the system, but it's around the person, and it will just filter through the filters. As the filters are being cleared from the system, then the codes will start dropping in, and then they'll feel themselves becoming more whole and conscious.
Thank you so much for teaching all this. I think it's invaluable and so important to understand, especially for leaders and those who are making a difference in the world. I know there's so much more you could teach us about it all, and we are coming towards the end of our time. Where can people continue learning from you?
Well, I'm teaching I do webinars online. I have a lot of them. All of them are I call them living recordings because they're all like stepping stones. You will feel in. I have a lot of them on my website. I say about the results one or the intuition. So there's many different ones for helping your system to develop. So I have a lot of webinars online. I'm doing one on healing codes at the moment. The weekend I'll be doing one on that's information where I was in Greece just now, and it's supporting you to sit into a field of codes of results. So for me, it's about the frequency, sitting in fields of information where there was miracles and results. And that's what I was sitting in, meditating in for the last 2 weeks, is sites where for the last 2 years, people have been practicing healing. So
I'm sharing the screen here so everyone can see that there are all these workshops coming up, and they're on Damien's website. You don't have to remember Damien's website. There's going to be a button right underneath the video. So click the button and it will take you right to this website.
There's a lot of free webinars there if you want to get a feel of the work I do. I never hold back. So also when you sit with me in the webinars and or even through sessions, I'm always opening the systems for the teachings to enter your system. So if you're a coach, for example, usually the people find that they start teaching in a different way because they start remembering or they start integrating new information within the system. Always the work I do, the teachings that came through, it's about you using those tools in your own way, but it's about having the vibrational frequency within you, having that experience, and then some consciousness there. I have a lot of teaching webinars as well about the system work I do, about how to enter systems, how to work with systems. And this really helps with the business part as well, or coaching. It really helps you to read systems, because when you're aware of a system, a subconscious system, when you bring consciousness to it, it opens to you and you start getting the information. But if you're in it, you don't get it. Like I need people to work on me to see what I can't see. We all need each other in that way. So I'm always getting people to look at my system, to work on myself. I'm continuously working on myself as well. Because I know that some things I can work on, and then some things I need people to reflect and mirror to me and to open space, hold space for me. And once I'm in that state, then there's usually a breakthrough in the system. So in these webinars, I'm holding a space for you to break through to the next level and no limits within the system, and to remember who you are and to become more whole. It's just there was a doctor years ago, she was studying the work, and she says it's a cellular shift. The work I do is about a cellular shift. I want to get cellular results within the body, in the blood, within the organs, because I know if I get a cellular shift, then your essence is in your cells, you know. So it's the hand of my essence of my being, that's manifesting on earth. So my essence, when I get into the body, that's when I really can produce the fruits and live aligned to myself and what I'm here to do, what's my purpose. So I'm not in the way of myself. And the cells change, the body change, rejuvenation of the skin, of the cells, of the organs, of the DNA, clearing genetic information. I work very much with clearing the subconsciousness. It's only the tip of the iceberg that we are in, but beneath there is the subconsciousness. So for me, it's very important. What is the vibrational field I'm giving out from my essence? Now, if I'm giving it out through that 90% of subconscious information, that's what I'm going to get back. So for me, in the webinars, I'm working on clearing the subconsciousness, clearing the way the brain is wired, rewiring the brain, working in the blood, the DNA, the ancestral information, mom and dad, working through any trauma or shock energy. If I had an accident as a child, I'm going to have a shock in my aura, and I'll create shocks in my life. So it's about decoding that. Another work which was very important for me, because I have lost 2 twins in the womb, is vanishing twins. So if you have lost a vanishing twin, it really is important to work with vanishing twin. I have a lot of webinars on vanishing twins. A lot of us in the healing world who do this type of work, a lot of doctors, they have vanishing twins, they don't realize it. And it's really, and it's really impactful in our lives. Like, it creates a lot of things like bulimia, addictions, fragmentation, abuse. It's very hard to embody. So this was really what was in the way of me having these breakthroughs. And that's why I had the accidents, because I had 2 twins in my system. So if you want to manifest what you're here to do, you need to do it from your own genetic place. Each person has a genetic place. And if in the womb, if you have a twin, you go to save your twin. So it means you leave your genetic place and enter your brother or sister's place. And until you can acknowledge that and come out the cellular information of your twin and the genetic place of the twin, then you can embody what you're here to embody. And it happens usually in the first trimester, maybe second. And what happens is it started at such an early age, it's cellularly. So the cellular information is mixed up. So a lot of people I work with, they will have maybe the twin in the lung, in the hip, usually where the weak points are in the body or in the brain. And until you come out of the cellular information, this is not a spiritual thing, this is scientific. A lot of doctors I work with, even they have them and they can acknowledge it and see the results on their body level. So there's a lot of cellular women I've worked with who have 2 wombs, for example. So, or if you've got a male in your system, you have tomboy in your system, or very strong male traits. But usually when there's a twin, the twin is the victim state. So you'll have 2 flip sides in your system. You'll have a very conscious part, which will be you, and then you'll have a victim state part, which will be sabotage and attract sabotage or addictions or very negative things to you, or be in a relationship that's very destructive. Because you're in the womb, you're reliving that experience again. You're reliving that you're with your loved one, D1. So a lot of people think as well, I found my soul one, my other one, soul twin. But really it's about your twin. You're looking for your twin. And you'll never be satisfied because nobody else can fill those shoes, only your twin. So you'll find twin relationships that you're jumping in and out, or maybe staying in too long. You won't leave because it's abusive, but you must give everything, your essence, to your twin. So, but there's lots of gifts having a twin, because you're very empathic, you know how to read systems, you know how to clean messes up very fast. A lot of business people, key people I work with, have vanishing twins as well. Very successful people, because they have an ability to look at a system, clean it up fast. A lot of very powerful environmental leaders that I work with, they all have twins, because the womb represents the world. So I was left alone when my twins left me in a messy womb, a toxic womb. So then I have a tendency that I want to clean the oceans. I'm attracted to pollutions. I'm attracted to deadness. I maybe have this fear of doom, disaster, devastation in my system. Also, I had experienced abuse in my childhood, but I was projected always to the abuse, and it wouldn't clear from my system. But the abuse was back in the womb when I was fragmented when my two twins left. One twin is devastating, but to lose two is really huge. Some people have lost 3, 4 even. So,
do you have a webinar where people can learn specifically about the twins?
Great question. Yes, I have a webinar teaching on how to work with twins.
Oh, perfect. I actually see it on your website. So I'm going to share this website again. But everyone who's watching right now, just go to the button below this video, just click on it, very simple. And then it will take you straight right here, and put your email in, your name. And that way you will also continue receiving information about future workshops. You'll get access to free webinars and even some clearings.
Yeah, I just did too. But you're right. I'm teaching, like a lot of leaders that I work with and coaches I work with, they're missing twins.
Yeah.
And until they resolve and come out of the system of the twin, they will not create the abundance in their life that they're here to create. Because you're creating it in a mess, you're creating it for somebody else. You can have, like, this is really important, I think it's very useful, is that in your aura, you'll have a massive opening in your aura. I don't know if you can see it. I'm not on,
Yeah, I see it.
So it means that when you sit in a room, you're sitting in people's systems. So you can read them, but you're taking on the heaviness of their system. Now, also, this represents the wheel of life. So you'll start a project and you'll lose the energy of that project. You'll never complete it. Miscarriages, abortions as well is very common. So there's a tendency to start a project, lose the energy. And also, if I'm sitting with you, I can tell you a great idea. But if I haven't worked on this system, you will think it was you who thought of the idea, and you will not mention me.
Yeah.
So it has a tendency to create this codependent, abusive relationships with people, and also that you're getting burnouts.
So I encourage people to continue learning from you in this webinar, because clearly you have so much to teach. You're like a walking encyclopedia. So I want to direct people to where they can continue learning, which is really just here on the website. It says it all, Vanishing Twins.
There's many webinars on Vanishing Twin. If you go more details, there's another part on the website where there's a list of different webinars that I've done.
Yeah.
And also I have a talk on YouTube with Harvok. He's from Croatia, and it's about his experience. I worked with him for a year, his experience of finding his twin. I'm talking about my experience of having a twin. You know, it's not till you hear someone else talking about the effects of living with a vanishing twin in your system, or you're in somebody else's system, that you hear it from someone else, you say, oh my God, I have a twin, you know. But usually there's people, now this is the most important point I'm going to say, 90% of the people who have twins will not book a session for a twin. I've had people that I was teaching for years, and they're saying, Damien, stop talking about twins. I don't have one. I'm here for something else. And 7 years later, they come back and say, sorry, Damien, I have a twin. Can you help me? Because it's the biggest wound you can ever have, is losing a twin in the womb.
So I want to make sure you're coming to the end of this masterclass.
Yes, sorry.
I love that you have so much to teach, and I hope people are going to go to your website by clicking the button below the video, because there's so much important information. I think the vanishing twin is partially also your conversation to me, because I had a lot of experience with that myself. But I do want to give people like a blueprint for where to continue learning from you. So this doesn't have to be the last time where they hear from you. This is just a bare beginning. So please go click on the button right below this video and continue learning from this incredible man, incredible healer. Thank you so much, Damien, being with us.
Thank you, Julia. Yeah, and anyone I know as well, I really recommend Julia's work as well. I've known you for many years now, and it's so beautiful to connect, and I can see how you've developed as well. So I can feel you've got a treasure chest to share as well. So I'm going to check out your work as well. It's very interesting, I feel. So thank you, and thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you so much. Oh, sending love to all of you.
And thank you, Mary, as well. Thank you, Mary, for connecting us.
Oh, yeah. Mary Finnerty is one of my coaches and friends and colleagues, and we have a beautiful connection with her. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a beautiful rest of the day. Sending love.
Thank you. You too.